Do you want to learn how to draw this adorable Mickey Mouse waving? If so, you are going to need a couple of things, like some paper to doodle on, a pencil to doodle with, a marker to outline your doodle when you are done, and an eraser to erase any mistakes that you might make. And don't forget the crayons, the markers, the colored pencils, or the paint to add color to your adorable doodle. Grab all of those supplies and let's get started. Let's get started on our Mickey. So we are going to make our paper vertical, which means that it is tall this way, but it is skinny this way. And we are going to start, I'm going to have him partially on the paper and partially off the paper. That way we don't have to do a lot of the more complicated parts to him. We can kind of stick with the easier portions and leave the harder areas are going to be a little bigger, so it's going to be a little easier for us to draw. So I'm going to start with his arm because I'm going to have him waving at us. So if this is the middle of my paper, I'm going to go to the middle of the bottom half and I'm going to create two lines, one and then one right on top. And it's going to get a little skinnier here and a little further away, not drastically different, but just slightly bigger here, and slightly smaller here. And then on top of that, I'm going to create a nice curved line. And this is the bottom portion of his little mitten, the little glove that he wears. And then on the left side, I'm going to do a curve. And then on the right side, I'm going to do a shorter curve because this is where a thumb will be and these are going to be our fingers. So where the taller one is, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a tall oval shape. And this is maybe probably a little shorter than 2 inches in length. I'm gonna do just a small little curve there, a little line. And this line would be even with, if I took this part of his hand right here and went across, it's gonna be even with that curve right there. Okay. Now I'm gonna go up from right there in the middle, curve over and around and stop. So I've created a V here and it is touching, both fingers are touching right there where that little line is. And now I'm going to go down. I'm going to go right even with the finger over there. And I'm going to come up and around and down. And this one is going to come down and be even with the end of the pinky over here. So now I've got his 2 fingers, pinky. Now we need a thumb. So in this section here, it's probably maybe 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to go through here and make a nice big oval thumb. So we've got his 4 fingers just waving at us. And the last thing we're going to do is just add a little curve right here in the middle. And that's just kind of this part of your thumb right here. That's just a nice little curved line to help show that this is the thumb muscles. Helps bring him to life a little bit. All right, down here where we finished his arm, we are going to curve down and out. So we have pretty much this half of his body done. Now, where his thumb is, we are going to go up and around with his head. So let's start down from his thumb because it might be easier for us to lay in the top. So right about the tip of his thumb, I'm going to curve down with a line. And that means I can go up above that and curve around. And I can keep going all the way down on the other side. So I can end even with the one over here. So I have a curve that goes all the way around and we end. And I'm not going all the way down because remember his cheeks come out a little bit further. So now I'm going to curl out for his cheeks and I'm going to come down and just meet up with his arm. And then on this side, I'm going to curl out and down. And I want these lines to be about the same. So I definitely don't want one up higher than the other. I want them to be pretty even down here. And then he's got a bit of a bump out for like a chin shape here. So let's go ahead and add in that curve and connect. So now we've got a little bump down here. We've got our curls up here that are going to go into his head. So from these curves that come in, I'm going to go up and around. And what I want to do is I want to create a V shape right here in the middle of his head. So I'm going to curl out and around and down and in for the other side. So I've created this nice, really rounded M shape or a V shape right here in the middle. And this is the outer part of his forehead there. All right, so let's go right in the middle between these two lines. That's where we're going to make his nose. So his nose is going to be kind of a flattened oval. My dogs are getting into something in the yard. And you can give it a little crescent oval shape, something on the nose if you'd like for a shine mark. You can color it all black. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to give him a little shine mark. And then right above the nose, you're going to make a curved line. And that curve should only go slightly past his nose. You don't want to go too far. This curve is just going to serve as the base for his eyes. So we are now going to use that bottom and we're going to go up and around with some tall ovals and up and around on both sides. And they are a little bigger up there and they come in a little bit at the base. That's fine if you can pull it off. If not, no big deal. Then we're going to go ahead and add in the rounded parts and white circle for the eye, and then you can get the rest of that colored in black. So now we've got his eyes. And if you wanted to change this into Mickey, you would definitely need to add in her dress, but it wouldn't be too difficult. You give her some eyelashes and a bow. All right, so I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go ahead and give him the curve for his mouth. And each end of his mouth is going to have a little curve. And then his mouth is open since we've got that little bump out down there. So I'm going to go ahead and do another curved line. And you could add in a tongue. Usually you'd see his tongue. And then the rest of the inside of his mouth would be black. And he's pretty simple. He's pretty much just going to be black and white. All right, and then over on the other side of his chin here, I'm just going to do a curved line out and down for the rest of his body. We're not going to see his other hand. And I'm going to do a curved line here for his little shorts. And you could add a circle if you'd like. I know he has two kind of buttons here on his shorts. You can add those in. All right, now we're at his ears. So his ears are just going to be big oval shapes. If you have something round, it might be easier for you to just trace them in. But if you can just kind of guess their placement, they're going to go up here in these outer corners. So I'm going to start over here with the more complicated one. We're going to come out and around. It's going to come into his hand. So that's pretty nice because we kind of cut off a bunch of it. And if we want it bigger, we can make it bigger. So let me go ahead and kind of just draw in how I want it. And then it's all going to get colored in black. And I'm actually going to use a different marker for that. And then over here, we're going to do the same thing. They're about the same size. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to a Crayola marker, which is going to be different black, but that's okay. And I'm going to color it in. If I layer it, it actually looks pretty good. So now I'm going to go through and color in everything on my Mickey that is black, which is pretty much the whole shebang. So let's go through and color in that part. I'm going to go around his glove because his glove stays white. And this outer portion of his head is black. I love Mickey. My husband and I went to Disney World on our honeymoon, and it was probably the best vacation we've ever done. And it's amazing when you go to Disney, especially specific times of the year, I guess. Like we went in June, just to see how few kids there are and how many couples there are. It's kind of funny to just see how adults love Disney just as much as children do. Okay, so I'm going to go through and color this ear in. I know my dad's a big Disney fan. You'll never see a bigger 80-year-old child than my father. Loves his Disney movies. Loves it all. Okay, so there we go. So now we got his head is pretty much done. Now this part of his body is all black. So I'm going to go through and color that in. And remember, to get that thick line that I'm getting, you use the angle of your marker. So if you look at your marker, it comes to a point. The tip is really just for skinny areas. The side of that marker is for you to create thicker lines and color with. So you really aren't supposed to color. If your markers aren't lasting a pretty decent amount of time, it's because you're not coloring with the right part of your marker. The tip will dry out. The more that you use that smaller area, the faster it will dry out. And you really have a lot of ink in these markers. I actually take them and make paint, watercolor paint out of these for my students, and the color is amazing because you're really not using what you think you're using. All right, so now I'm gonna get some red for his shorts and his tongue. So let me start up here with his tongue. So I'm gonna get this red. Could use a marker, but I don't want because my black is washable, so it's a water-based marker, which means if I get close to it with a red washable marker, it's going to get black on the tip of my marker and it's going to smear. So I'm going to go in and color in the rest of him, the smaller areas, with crayon and add in some shadows with crayon. So I'm going to go through and color his shorts here, or the portion of his shorts that we see. And trying to get it nice and dark. I want it to match how dark my black is. I'm trying to get that dark with a crayon. Means lots of pushing. Luckily, it's a small area, so I can push really hard. Okay, and then his buttons are yellow. So let's grab, I don't really want the really yellow. I want this like golden yellow. We'll color his little buttons with the golden yellow. And then what I'm gonna do is his face has like a peach. It's not really white. So I'm gonna get this light peach here, and I'm just gonna go in and add just a little bit of color to his face. I'm not gonna make it super dark. I'm not gonna try to be super precise in my coloring, because I just want to kind of give it a little bit of peach, just so there's not so much white in him. He's got a little bit of color. And the problem with coloring dark with these lighter colors is they have a white base. So they are going to cover up some of that marker. So my black marker can kind of get washed out a little bit. And see how it already is covering up some of that black marker where I colored outside of the line right now. But if you are doing a mix of crayon and marker like I'm doing, make sure you do the crayon last, because the marker will lift the crayon and get wax on the marker, and the wax will ruin your marker. So the wax from the crayon can get on the marker, especially when you get little tiny pieces that kind of come off. Like, that's why I keep wiping my paper, because I get these kind of tiny little areas that kind of just little pieces of crayon that just come off. So now I'm going to go through and add a little bitty shadow. So I'm going to add a little shadow right here where his nose kind of comes up. Add a little shadow down here where his arm overlaps his face. And maybe around his cheek area here on both sides, just to show how it's rounded. And up here, just add a little bit up here. All right, and now I want to get the brown, like a dark brown for my red. And in his mouth, I want to just create a little shadow with the base of his tongue where his lip would be covering it. And I want to also create a little shadow on his sides coming in. And that shadow just helps show that he's rounded, that he's not such a flat object. He's got a little bit of shape to him. And then the very last thing I want to do is get my gray, and this might be a little too dark of a gray, but I want to add a little shadow in on his gloves to help give his fingers a little bit of form also. So I'm going to go on the outside of this finger where it's close to his head. I'm going to go on this finger where it overlaps that his middle finger, I guess, that inner finger. And then I'm going to do a little bit on the inside here of his pinky. I'm going to go down here, go a little bit on the base here of and right in here on that little curve. And then we are pretty much done. Look how cute our Mickey turned out. I hope that you had fun doodling with me today. If so, please like, subscribe, and share the video. And I cannot wait to see you again next time. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.